out there? How
Busy,
was your
busy.
day? Busy? Yeah, was
Yeah,
it kind of full on?
yeah. I got a meeting in like 10 minutes, but I'll come back for my business partner. But yeah, I'll come back, but I'll be away
Sure.
for a couple minutes.
No problem. I'm glad you're here. Stefan, Lily, how are you today? Have you noticed anything? Have you noticed any shifts? How was your session? How are you? How is everyone doing? Good. Good.
I'm yeah. I ate a big salad for dinner and had watermelon for lunch, so I'm getting better about eating some quote unquote
Water,
higher vibrational foods. But
water is so important. As I've progressed with the energy clearing work, I've noticed that hydration, like even in the food, becomes so crazy crucial as you're literally releasing particles of dense energy out of your field with this work. And so hydration is super key. I'm really glad you're here. I have big news, which is that today is literally the day that Jupiter, remember Jupiter, has jumped into Taurus.
the
Today,
millionaire planet.
the millionaire planet. Exactly. And it's the day. And so when you're dealing with a planet the size of Jupiter, oh my God. Imagine for a second the power that the moon has on how we feel. That's pretty strong stuff, right? Now, amplify that a bit, and that's when you get Jupiter. Okay. So Jupiter is huge energy. I'm going to share screen here. I'm just going to jump into this. Whoo, big energy shift. Big, big energy shift. So Jupiter into Taurus. What is Taurus? Well, Taurus is that fertile, lush river valley, right? It's a very
Well,
different energy than Aries, which is fire. And so it's almost like this feeling of like jumping into a slowed down movie where we've been maybe going at this like super high pace. And now the energy has like shifted into this much slower, more languorous, more like sultry, feminine. And it kind of reminds me the energy of steam, right? Like of water, like a hot sauna or like a hot spring. It's like that steaminess of like the fire meeting earth. When you see a movie and a man and a woman meet and it's like, whoa, and there's all that heat. I get the sense of there being a lot of heat because the sun is in Aries, which is fire, and it's ruled by Mars. And it's one of the most masculine energies, and the sun is in Aries right now. Okay, so there's this fire energy of the sun. And then we have Jupiter, which in Vedic astrology is considered to be the father energy. And it's gone into Taurus. And so that's a feminine vibration. Okay. And so there's a really interesting dynamic where the soul energy is more active and assertive. And then the teacher energy, the millionaire planet, is much more abundant and receptive and yin. And so, what does that mean for the energetic of the times? It means things are going to like potentially slow down a bit in certain levels or dimensions at the same time that we're going pretty fast. Did anyone have any questions from last night's class that you remember that are front of the mind before we get going here? If so, you can just use your hand and ask.
um,
Yeah, go ahead.
yeah. Well, I was just more interested about the Chiron or Chiron.
Yeah.
Well, I followed a YouTube channel that talks about Chiron, and it's really cool, very mellow, soft, calm, meditative information. So I've kind of seen that Chiron before, and I was really curious because you talked about the wound of Chiron. I
Yeah.
was just more curious
So,
about that.
yeah, yeah. Well, that's what tonight is all about, my friend. So that's what we're going to cover. So,
Cool.
what is the story of Chiron? Um, Let me ask you this. Have you ever felt like there was something you were holding that wasn't healed? Have you ever felt that there was like a place inside of you that just was not, didn't feel whole, didn't feel complete. It just felt kind of, it hurt. Okay. And maybe you've gone to see healers, you've worked with people, but it's like you just keep struggling with this thing. And it's like, fuck, like how do I finally deal with this? Right? Like how do I finally break free of whatever this is? And what is it? Okay. And so I'm going to share my story a little bit here. So last year, May of last year, and I'll keep it on this screen. May of last year. Oh, this is perfect. I was looking at my chart. I kind of ignored Chiron because Chiron is an asteroid. And I thought, whatever, it's just an asteroid. It's not even a planet. Like, why is it so important? What does it matter? What does it even show me? And I had been dealing with, God, 15, 20 years of a chronic throat issue. Now, really couldn't diagnose it. Wasn't really like, couldn't really find what was the matter, but it's there. I went to see countless healers and nobody could friggin' touch it. Like it just would not move. And I was looking at my astrology chart May of last year, which is interesting. And I saw Chiron and I was like, oh, Chiron, how interesting. The wounded healer. What's that about? And I looked at it and it was in Taurus. And I was like, oh, Taurus, right? Taurus. So Taurus, right, is the throat,
Yep.
right? Remember last night? Yeah, so Taurus is the throat. And I got this really cool chart here that shows all the houses and what part of the body. Oh, that's not the right one. So we'll just get the signs up. So here we go. We've got Taurus, the planet of beauty or the sign of beauty, all about femininity, all about expression, all about speaking from the throat. And the sun was in Taurus, and I looked down at my chart, and then I almost just started crying. Like I just started bawling because I was like, oh my God, like 15, 20 years of dealing with this chronic pain. And there in my chart, staring back at me, I'd just not seen it, was Chiron in Taurus, the throat. And I just remember it was like time stopped and I was just standing there and I sat down and I was just like waves of emotion, waves and waves of emotion. And it also relates to security and stability and finances and all the areas of my life that had just been a constant struggle, constant struggle. And I had this friggin' crazy connection to it where I was like, this is what has been going on. And I realized in that moment that if I could identify it, I could start to work on it. Because I was like, I didn't have a clue how to deal with the throat issue. It was like, okay, throat, speaking my truth. Yeah, okay, got it. Like, great. Like, what next? Okay. But when I had that Chiron and Taurus staring back at me, I just went, oh my God, right? This is going to change everything. Fast forward to November, and I'd done a ton of healing work on this. I worked with an intuitive healer, and we did sort of like a past life muscle testing session to kind of face it and go into it. Do you guys want to hear what we found out? Is it kind of pretty good story here? Okay, so she's like, okay, where did it where was the past life that this all began? And so she's like, so I just went in and I'm really good at receiving images and just sensing. And as soon as I go in, I have a facilitator, I'm just there. And I'm there, and all of a sudden, I'm getting chills. I see like an old Viking village. I'm like, we're in Norway or Scandinavia. Like, no doubt. Okay. And so we kept testing, and a story started to emerge. And the story that emerged was that I had been an oracle. Kind of interesting similarity emerging here for my village. I was being tutored by my mom because in that time, the oracle would pass it on to her child. So I wasn't the head oracle yet, but I was being trained. And interestingly, I have quite a strong connection to my mom now, who has been training me since I was little and like all this stuff like feng shui and astrology and like why are you always teaching me? Like God, like I don't want to know. Like stop telling me stuff. But she always is. And so, oh my God, I'm just sitting there like it's like waves, just waves and waves of energy coming through my body. Like, oh my God, this is what happened. And so I fell in love in that lifetime, of course, right? You fall in love with an oracle, right? It's like, magical. I fall in love with a man from a different tribe and I run away with him. But there were really strict laws in those Viking villages around their magic person going to a different tribe. It was like, kind of like a football team's mascot. Okay, but like maybe a little more next level than the football team's mascot, but basically like stealing the football team's mascot. And so the other team was super mad. And in order for me to stay in this new tribe, they came up with this idea, and this is where it gets kind of gruesome, that in order to stay there and have love, they would have to cut my tongue off.
Ugh.
Fuck that. So So as that was coming through, just friggin' waves of emotion. And for me to even share this with you right now, I'm kind of like in shock that I'm even sharing this with you. But I want this to hit you with the sincerity and the authenticity of what can come through and the power of what this stuff can show. Okay, because Taurus is communication and your tongue, which I discovered in that lifetime, is crazy vital to being able to talk. And so in that lifetime, I had uh, a deep trauma around love and power and being able to express my truth and have love. And so the theme to heal then becomes, right, having love and power. So as we went into healing that, the last several months of this actually coming up for me has been some of the biggest, deepest healing of my entire life. Like just waves of recognition, waves of acceptance, noticing that I can speak more easily to people and to crowds and to audiences, and that I can share my story and my truth in a way that I couldn't before. It's changed my whole life. I'm not going to say that I'm completely there yet. Okay. I'm not going to say like I'm completely healed from that trauma. And I'm going to be real with you. Okay. People think that you can just take Chiron and it's done, right? Like it is a project. It may be like 3 months, it may be a year. Who knows what your unique Chiron thing is, but it tends to be something that happened that was so kind of pivotal to the structure of your being that that wound is something that feels almost impossible to heal. Yeah, no problem. However, I don't think anything's impossible to heal at all. In fact, I feel, sense, and perceive that we can transform and transmute anything, right? It's all energy, it's all consciousness. And with our love and our presence, the ocean of love is so much bigger than any pain that we've ever been through. It's just so much bigger. Okay. But I want to be real with you. I don't want you to think like this is going to be a cakewalk to heal the Chiron wound. And I'm stoked because I know a lot of you are healers. A lot of you have access to healing. Whoever watches the recording of this, you have access to healing. Okay. And I also facilitate healing, especially around this deep stuff, because I've been in it. I've been in it and I know how deep it is and pivotal to our being able to express who we really are. Okay. And so that's why I'm giving this backstory, because I don't want to just dive into your Chiron thing without really laying the groundwork of how intense this actually can be. Okay. Warnings are here, they're in place. Make sure, maybe grab a Chiron buddy, someone you can talk to about, hey, I'm working on my Chiron thing. I mean, that would be a really beautiful program to create, is a program where there's like, you get a Chiron buddy and you're doing healing on this every week or every, once a month, whatever it is, so that you have consistent, regular work on it, because that is what I think and feel that it may require in my own experience of working on clearing it and healing it. Okay. Any questions so far? Now that I've left everyone silent. So that is why I am so passionate about communication, because I have experienced before what it felt like to not be able to share words, to not be able to share my truth, to not be able to speak the words that allow others to hear you. Okay. And so I'm so passionate about supporting everyone to be able to speak your truth and to be able to share your gifts, because that's what we're here for. We're here to share our gifts. And it's a tough world when we can't, right? It's painful when there is any type of block here. Okay. So that said, a lot of energy, a lot of energy. Yeah. I'm going to share a little video clip here of some of my former clients. And one thing I've noticed about going through really challenging experiences in whatever lifetime that they occurred is that it gives us the gift of compassion. And it gives us the gift of truly being able to be there for people. And all of these people you're about to hear from were all of my clients who had pretty amazing experiences with the chart. Okay. And I just want to bring home the reminder of how powerful the chart is for revealing things. Right. We're going to go into Chiron tonight. We're going to look at your Chirons. Okay. But I want to really rev up the excitement about how vital and real what comes through in these charts, right? That they're not just, a piece of information, that they are literal keys into specific challenges that we brought in karmically. Okay, so I'm just going to share screen here. And this video always cracks me up. I think you'll enjoy it. All right, here we go.
Here I wake up the day after my birthday and find this out. And I'm like, no wonder some things haven't fit. Thinking I'm supposed to be kind of a certain way and I'm not.
Right.
So, it's I feel like it's a gift and I'm very grateful. And here I find you and your mom has the same birthday. So so you're going to have incredible insight, I think, into who I am. And I'm really grateful for that, because you may have more insight about me than I do. At how much this fits.
Really know your stuff. I was impressed, and I've never had anybody explain astrology on the level that you did, So it made total sense and logical sense, and I'm like, you know what? You're absolutely right. When do we start? Let's go. You're picking up on everything that I've always heard all my life. It's amusing. It's almost, it's like, have you been looking at a movie of my life that you just rattling off all this stuff? So everything you say is I've been hearing all my life. So I said, girl, you don't need to talk anymore. What's your phone number? Give me your deets right now. I'm all over you.
I'm so interested to learn about this. This is like major. Oh my God. This is like crazy. I mean, you have no idea. So
Yeah.
what the hell? This is mind blowing.
Yeah.
Oh my God. All this time I thought I was, oh my God. Everything's different. Like my moon is in Pisces. Are you kidding me right now? I mean, I'm pretty happy so far. This is pretty good, but thank you.
Yes.
There's not too many people that are presenting the material that you're presenting on YouTube. Really found anybody as passionate as you. So I'm really excited to get your perspective on things. And I'm just so grateful for you right now, Lotus.
Yeah.
So wrong. I don't know what's going on, but I feel so good. Wow.
Awesome.
Thank you so much, Lotus. You have confirmed to me what I thought, that we are on the right track. We really are. We really are. Oh man, thank you so much for this. Changed my life.
Oh man, so awesome, right? So when we use this system, we link it up to our intuition. If you're on this call, you're super intuitive, right? Naturals. And so when you link up the actual location of the stars with your intuition, it's a powerhouse, and you can shift and transform things that maybe you had no idea, right? Like for me, identifying a 15, 20-year issue in literally 5 minutes, like it shocked me. I was like, oh my God, how did I not notice this before? Right? Why didn't I think of this, right? And I was like, oh my God, I have to tell people about this. I have to get this information out there, because how many people could start to resolve and work on at least knowing the part of the body, right? And oh, that there's an issue here. Okay, where's it from? But this is ironic. This is so interesting. So this couple is actually from Estonia and Finland. Okay, they're Norwegian, so that's really funny. They're awesome. Pirette and Tanu. They were part of my first master class. Whew, I'm still amazed at the information can be accessed about a person from just looking at the real position of the sky elements. And so they would stay up until like 3:40 in the AM to participate, which was so amazing. So I just really want to, share the magnitude of the power of what we're looking at here, right? And how potent it is at bringing to light things that may have been hidden, things we didn't know. And I'm just going to kind of go through here a review of what are we looking at when we look at the astrological chart, right? So here on the ground is the middle of the chart, right? So there's that middle line through the chart, and everything above is that big open sky. And if you had a yin yang symbol, right, that white would be that big vast sky energy, right? And then down below would be that earth yin. Okay. And so outer expression is on top, inner expression on the bottom. Now, if you wanted to know more about a person, you could also divide the chart down the center, and everything to the left represents individuality and purpose, and everything on the right represents relationship and other, right? So this is a really great tool if you're in a team or in an organization and you want to know, are the people coming to you more individualistic or more relational? Okay, do they need to be in the team, or do they need to work outside the team and work on their own? So right side people, put them to town working with other people, activate them around teamwork and relationships. Left side, you just put them out on their own. They want to do things their own way. And so knowing that is such a helpful tool. Like some children have tons of planets on the right side of their chart. And I want to tell the parents, like, can you make sure they have friends? Like, can you make sure they have a buddy? Can you make sure they're not like left alone, because they're relational and they're not going to be truly happy unless they have that compatriot, to play with and do things with and partner with. Whereas, okay, all the planets in the child's chart are on the left, like they're fine. Let them go play with frogs. Let them, write their little stories and plan their visions because that's what their focus is going to be like. Okay. And so, you know, yang above, yin below, how we give our gifts out into the world above. And it kind of looks like a big store here, like a mall, and that person's there and they're visualizing all the things they can give out to the world. So that upper part of the chart is how we give out, right? What is our style of giving out to others? Okay. And then underneath, kind of more, how do we give back to ourselves? How do we nurture ourselves, right? With the lowest part of the chart being the IC, which is down on the bottom, right? And so for Lily Ma, right, with you having so many planets in that bottom location in the yin spot, I would say, don't try and have a big career out in the world, right? Like don't try and make it like all about external. Hone it on in, make it about emotion, make it about home. And who else would you best serve other than mamas who are also at home, like caring for the family and for the, the babies and that, fourth house is like the epitome of the womb. And so how perfect for you to heal through herbology for women. I mean, it's so appropriate and aligned, especially with the rulership of the midheaven, how you give out being in Taurus, which is, the bounty of the land, right? Healing through the bounty of the earth. Like it's just so beautiful and so perfect. And that's how this chart works. I see it 90, God, like 100% of the time people come to me. I tend to attract people who are on track and I just confirm it. I'm literally just like a confirmation, affirmation tool. But the power of that is really over the top because people suddenly feel so heard, so held, and so empowered with what they're choosing. So any doubts or insecurities or confusion fly out the window. So another great thing about the chart is most people want to know about purpose, right? We want to know about our purpose and it's up here. And so most people will look at the midheaven up on top and go, okay, let's do that. And then they'll try and do that stuff, but they'll ignore that bottom area, right? And that bottom area is the root system. Yeah. And so the roots are what create the fruits or the blossom, right? So if our roots have a bad root, right? Or a rotten root or like a bug in the root, whatever we got there, in order to truly blossom, we have to get it out. We have to transmute it into something that is the same frequency of our true flower blossom potential. Okay, so what I would like to do now is to, before we jump into the Chiron wound, I don't want to just go there. I appreciate John Michael asking about it, but I don't want to just start there. Now, we've kind of like gotten the preview of what's coming, but let's slow down a little bit here. like it's like nice to meet you. So what is the biggest, deepest trauma you've ever had in your life? You want to know about it? Let's go. Okay, so let's have a little foreplay, as they say, and like, like open the door here slowly. And it's interesting because, foreplay is really also key or code for rapport. Let's build some rapport, okay? Let's create a state of comfortability here so that as we go deeper, it doesn't feel so like, whoa, hey. Right? So this is what we're gonna do. We're gonna start with the ascendant, okay? So the ascendant is where? Oh, it's right here. This is how I like to enter a chart. Right? So people are like, well, how do I start? Where do I start? We want to start maybe at the ascendant, unless something else calls your attention, because the ascendant is the far eastern point It was what was on the eastern horizon at the moment of your birth. Okay. And so the sign that was on the eastern horizon, right? So here are all the signs, and this wheel changes, right? It spins, it moves based on the time you were born. Yeah. The inner wheel stays the same. So it's always Aries, Taurus, Gemini, Cancer, etc. But the outer wheel is always changing. So based on when you were born, you could have Leo there, you could have Cancer there, you could have Gemini, Taurus, any of those based on the time you were born and where you were born. And so that's why everyone's so different, because we all have a different outer wheel of our astrological chart, which means, what does that mean, Lotus? Well, each house is a different arena of our lives. So the first house is about our identity. The second house is our finances. The third house is communication. The fourth is home and family. The fifth is romance and children. The sixth is work and service. And do you see how these are kind of very individual, personal houses, right? They're kind of like our foundation. And then we get into the seventh. It's like, oh, relationships. Okay, that's a little more outer, isn't it? Because sometimes we go out in public with our partner, we go on dates, whatever, right? And then we go into eighth house, intimacy, death, sex, transformation. It's like the initiation gateway. And so that could be going to see a shaman. That could be giving birth. And so that's a pretty big moment. So the eighth house really relates to those big moments of, like a woman beginning her menstrual cycle, or a man become a little boy becoming a man, right? Like going through those initiations into the next level, or a mother giving birth, or then becoming a wise woman, right? And then death. And so the eighth house really marks the transition points from those big epochs in our lives, which then leads into the ninth house, which is our expansion of the mind. It's our travel, right? So like once we start going through these initiations, our mind starts to expand. We start to have a thirst for knowing more. What does this mean? What just happened to me? I need to pursue the answer. It's that thirst for the answer. This is really the beginning of the hero's journey when you get into the eighth house, right? It's the problem or the challenge that then draws the hero or heroine into the quest for knowledge, which is then marked in the midheaven in the 10th house with the completion, where the champion wins, right? Like the person seeking the truth receives the answer, or they discover the Holy Grail. That is why the MC is like that moment of completion. It's the top of the mountain. It's the prize. Now, do you think it's like super easy to get to our midheaven, right? It's not like our purpose is just like, here you go, here's your purpose, take it. It's a journey of discovering ourselves through the wheel. We're born, first house, second house, we begin to build our material identity. Third house, we begin to talk about it. Fourth house, we go back home to regroup because it's so much. We have to, oh, what just happened? Okay, I need food, I need fuel, I need a bed, I need a house, I need to like ground myself. Okay. Then we go back out and play. Fifth house, we play like a child. We are free. We explore our creativity. We explore our hobbies. We explore our passions. Then we get serious again in the sixth house and we learn how to work. We learn about routine. We learn about the act of giving. So it's not just about us anymore. Then it moves into the seventh house. Maybe now that we've learned about giving, we can give to another person and have a relationship. Maybe we get married, right? Maybe we get pregnant and have a baby, eighth house. And we have this baby and it's like, oh my God, this has changed my life. Like I've got to go and like find out more about who I am and expand my soul. And then you're like, oh, answers come in midheaven. Completion comes in, a sense of knowingness comes in, and that's that achievement of the purpose, right? That's the peak of our soul path of our beingness. And so by knowing what sign we have there and what planets, we can kind of get in touch with what are we wanting to create on like a really beautiful level? What are we wanting to crystallize as the great cathedral of our life? Right? This is like a bigger vision with the purpose, right? It's so much more than it's like, what is your soul mission on earth to crystallize as? Like, and that's what the midheaven really shows. Right. So I see Lily Ma in a garden, like right with the Taurus. It's just like this beautiful, lush garden and all the safety and security she needs. And then she has the added challenge with Chiron there. So we'll get into that. Don't you worry. Don't you worry. But that added challenge is actually part of the big blessing, right? Because in all challenges is the seed of opportunity. And so we don't want to see Chiron or the biggest wound really as something to be afraid of or to withdraw from. But for instance, in my case, it is what has led me to be so passionate and vocal about sharing information and talking all the time, like going live all the time. And I wouldn't be doing that. Why would I need to? Right. And so Chiron for me has been this powerful force of propelling me into action, propelling me to learn the things I needed so that I could assist other people. And so Chiron then becomes our greatest service to humanity. Right? It becomes that place of compassion where it's like, oh, we know the pain, we've been there, and then we can support those who are growing towards what they want to create. Okay. So then we hit the 11th house. So once you've hit your peak of like, yeah, this is what I'm here for, and this is what I'm here to give, we get to the 11th house. And the 11th house is all about society, right? It's all about giving that incredible gift that we have garnered and cultivated and realize is our gift, giving it to the world. So what form will that take? In what way are we going to show up in the biggest level for humanity? So it's a very kind of impersonal place where it's more about the level of what type of gift do we give? Is it water? Is it air? Is it fire? Right? Are we more of a leader in terms of how we reach the masses? Are we more quiet like water? Are we a sustainer, a supporter? Are we a leader? Are we a communicator? What are we when it comes to the world? Okay. And then finally, we hit the 12th house. And so I think of the 12th house as both the time that we were in the womb and we were gestating in mama's belly and we didn't have to do anything and we didn't have to make anything happen. We were just being, right? There's this like floating, almost like fish-like, the fetus, like in the water of life before birth. And there's nothing you have to do, and there's nowhere you have to go, and you're held in the love of the universe. And then first house, you're born. Oh my God. And so the first house is almost a little bit of a shock to the system, right? It's kind of like, whew. And so there's a fresh energy there. Whenever we look at someone's chart, it's kind of like, that's how you're kind of like, ooh, hi, I'm here. That's how you present. That's what you look like. It's your personality. It's your ego. It's kind of that human self. First, we're in that 12th house and we don't have an ego. We're not like anything but one with our mama and with God, right? And so then the first house. And so there's such an interesting polarity between the 12th house and the first house. Pure beingness. And then, whoa, here I am, world, ego. And so the 12th house is the Pisces house. So it's the final sign of the zodiac, right? It's the completion. And so it's also, being in the belly, with mama, it's also our return back to God. Okay, so we're born, first house, we build, we communicate, we create a home, we have fun, we play. Sixth house, we give work and service, relationship, seventh. Eighth, we start the hero's journey of like transformation and initiation and change, and it's intense and it's powerful. And then ninth, we discover a thirst for knowledge to understand what it is we've lived through. We start going towards a higher plateau, reaching towards a higher star, wanting more higher knowledge. It's like university. Okay. So third house learning is like elementary school and junior high school and high school. Then we get to the ninth house, and that's PhD, right? That's getting a degree, studying, focus, but growing. You get to the MC, that's your peak. That's like, this is it. I figured out who I am. I figured out what I'm here to give. I've got my Christmas tree light on top of the Christmas tree. Woohoo, this is what I'm here for. 11th house, how are you going to give it? Right? Like, how are you going to give it out? Right? That's a pretty smile, Lily Ma. Whoever's there is a lucky person, right? So 11th house, how we give our love, right? Just like Lily Mom was giving that beautiful smile. It's like that feeling of how we give our gift that the MC is showing us to the world, right? My dog, oh yeah, that's how I feel about dogs too, right? They're just the best. They're the best. They're full of love. Okay, and then you get back to the 12th house and everything returns back again to source. Source return. Do you see the cycle here? This is the journey of the chart. It's really profound. It's really powerful. I just finished a 12-week masterclass where we went, well, it's actually 13. We went through every house. We went through every sign. We went through every planet that rules the sign. It was amazing. It was one of the most powerful journeys I've ever taken with a group of about 6 or 7 women, and we went through it all. I have that training. Eventually, I'm going to sell it, and I'm also going to offer it as a bonus for people who want to just really saturate themselves and dive deep into the houses and what they mean and how it's like a literal analogy to our life, the journey of the chart, analogy of our life. Okay. So that brings us back to the ascendant. Woohoo! Okay. So now that we've kind of given an explanation of why the ascendant is so important, pretty clear, right? Like, oh, that's where it all begins, right? That's where we come in. That's the moment of our birth, who we become, right? You know, our birthday kind of like, hi, I'm here. The energy is focused on us. Okay. So what I want to do now is I want to go through and I want to look at each of your houses. I want to look at your houses. I want to start with your ascendant, and I want to kind of share with you all what you have as your ascendant. Okay. So I'm going to give you all a little 5-minute recess. It's been about an hour. So take 5 minutes, then we're going to jump back on here and we're going to dive into what your ascendant is and what does that mean about you, right? How it shows your appearance, how it shows your basic identity self. So I'll be back and I'll see you all in 5 minutes and we will get back on here. All right. See you soon. All right. Okay. Any questions after that last segment? Does it make sense what I shared about the houses and what they're all about? Yeah. Any questions, comments, aha moments? Feel free to share. Yeah, go ahead, Stefan.
Did I get it right that you will share the recordings?
Yes. Yeah, after we did that class, I was like, where am I? So I'll get all of the recordings up. Any questions so far about the houses of the astrological chart? That's what I was going
Um,
Since you explained everything so well, I think I just need to replay and then write it down. So
to. Okay. Yeah, you know what I'm going to do is I'm going to get up a picture. So if you want to take a screenshot, you can, of the houses that have some sort of writing on them. And that way you can already start to study that. Because remember, what are the ingredients of reading a chart? Anyone want to, if we were to say that reading an astrological chart is like looking at a clock, what would be the three main ingredients that we would look at if we were looking at the clock? Anyone want to take a guess at it?
Yeah, I would do.
Yeah.
If the houses,
Mm-hmm.
then what we just talked, the houses, the signs,
Mm-hmm.
and the time, right?
And the planets.
And the planets, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, no, perfect. I should have a chart. I should have a slide for this, so that's my bad. So okay, so I'm going to share screen and we're going to look at the houses here. There we go. Okay, so just do it one more time. So here we have I kind of start the 12th house, right? Because it's that I always think of being in the womb and that's kind of how we begin, you know. Can you see the screen?
Yeah, it's awesome.
Okay. So the 12th house, right? Solitude, transcendent, self-undoing. I also think of it as the womb, right? I think about it as being that space of the divine ocean. Divine ocean. I should make my own one of these and put like pictures. That would be cool. Like the ocean. And then we have, I think of the first house like sunrise. You know, the sun rises and that's who we become. That's our sort of sense of self. And then the second house, I always see like a beautiful, lush, fertile river valley with a cabin and a garden. And there's someone out there splitting wood and they're getting water from the well and they're growing a garden and herbs. And there's so much bounty and abundance and it's very supportive. It's safe. Third house, I always picture like a school where children are learning and communicating and sort of like taking in knowledge and information. And then family, you know, home, where we go to at the end of the day as children. We go home, we have a snack, we hang out with mom, we hang out with dad, we watch some TV, right? So that fourth house is kind of that place where we go inward. Fifth house, it's like, oh, I want to go out to play now, right? We come home, cool, we get our sort of anchoring into the family network and we go out, we want to play, work, relationships. And then we get into the hero's journey, circulation, right? The intimacy, the initiation zone. Then we go and we travel, we learn, we really train ourselves, we become this higher version of ourselves, and then we have that peak with the MC and the career, community, spirituality, right? So I didn't use this tool before, which in some ways was maybe more helpful because you're actually using your imagination to think about it. But now you have it kind of written out so that you'll know. And then on the outer edge, do you see how there's a symbol? So we have the houses, that inner wheel, and the outer wheel, right, is the signs. And we have Aries on the first house, relates to the first house. We have Taurus. So here's maybe the most fun thing for you all to get tonight is that each house resonates to the frequency and vibration of a specific sign. It's pretty simple. So Aries relates to the first house, Taurus, the second, Gemini, the third, Cancer, the fourth, Leo, the fifth, Virgo, the sixth, Libra, the seventh, Scorpio, this is a mistake. This should be Scorpio. They messed up. Scorpio on the 8th, Sagittarius on the 9th, Capricorn on the 10th, Aquarius the 11th, and Pisces the 12th. So the beginning of the zodiacal wheel is Aries, and the end of it is Pisces. So head and feet. So then the houses relate to a part of a body too, right? So the first house would be the head. The second house would be the throat. The third house would be the arms. The fourth house would be the breasts and the reproductive system. The fifth house would be the heart. The sixth house would be the stomach. The seventh would be the kidneys. The eighth house would be the reproductive organs. The ninth house would be the thighs. The 10th house would be the knees. The 11th house is the whole electrical. Isn't that interesting? The whole electrical, and the 11th house is about the whole world, right? So Aries is just the head. It's just being alone, being that individual. First house, individuality, Aries, self. So it's a microcosm of our body, and it also relates to the macrocosm of the world as through the astrological chart. Then you add the planets. So each sign is ruled by a planet. And so the planet associated with the first house, Mars, action, right? And I could go through each one, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you a bonus tonight with all that information. I already have it. I just need to share it. I apologize for not getting it to you last night. But you'll have this chart and you're gonna be like, oh my God, I can already start to read an astrology chart and I barely know anything, because if we have the mechanics and the basics, it's really not that challenging. It's like fairly simple and straightforward. Okay, so now we've gone through the 12 houses of the astrological chart. We've gone through which sign is associated with each house. Okay, do you guys want me to go through the planets, or do you want me to just get you that sheet? Because I don't want to overload your capacity, like too much information at one time. Do you want to know, or is that going to be information overload at this moment?
You have a slideshow of it though. We can take a picture of.
I'm going to post it in the group.
Okay.
Yeah, so you
Well,
can.
yeah, if you're gonna do it later, that's fine. Yeah,
Yeah.
because you've already went through the parts of the body matched with like Aries or Taurus. So yeah, and then add the planets on the third level.
Yeah, I
Okay.
don't want to like oversaturate. I'm like, sponges seem pretty nice and full, so I'm going to just leave it there. Okay. But now we're going to go into the ascendant for each of us, right? For each of you, to look at what sign you have there to kind of make it personal after we've gone through a lot of the mechanics of what we're actually looking at with the astrological chart. Now we get to dive into what is your astrological chart, right? How does that show up for you, right? So that ascendant again really relates to the sign that was on the eastern horizon at the moment of your birth. It's kind of like your entrance, hi, you're here, right? Everyone's so happy that you're here. They're super happy that you've been born, right? That's the ascendant. It's kind of like, I'm fresh, I'm here, I'm new, okay? It's that far eastern horizon at the moment of birth. It's the sunrise, okay? Whew, so without further ado, let's go into this. Right? And here, here's just showing the gears of the astrology chart, right? It changes on the outside, but it stays the same on the inside. Kind of like us. Kind of like us. Okay. So Lily Ma, we'll start with you. So I do plan on sharing this video in our group and on YouTube. So if there's anything that like doesn't feel comfortable for you about that, please message me. And I can try and edit out anything that you ask me to. It's easier if I don't have to. So, but I want to respect your privacy needs. I know a lot of you have deep needs for that. So I will make sure. So please just message me and let me know what you need. Okay. So and I also plan to white out everyone's birth info, if that makes sense, because that can be a privacy issue. So at the moment of your birth, Lily Ma, you came through according to this exact time that we got. You had 28 degrees of Leo on the eastern horizon. Okay, so anyone know anything about the constellation of Leo? Anyone familiar with it? And what do you know?
Well, it's a Leo's like a lion. It's connected to the heart, so
Yeah.
like courage. I think courage.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Anyone else?
Is it related to Sirius, the star system Sirius, by any chance?
Interesting. That's an interesting question. Ceres, and I hear you on that, my friend. She's my buddy too.
Yeah.
is actually it's actually related to the star system to Regulus. This and so there's like four royal stars. Sirius is one, Arcturus, Regulus, and I always forget the fourth one. But they're considered royal stars, and so if you're born near them, it's pretty powerful, right? It's a powerful energetic to have. And so you're here with a lot of Leo. Well, actually, not a lot. A fair helping of Leo, let's say. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So these little ticks, do you see these little tiny things? Like, what is that? Those are the degrees of an astrological chart. And so there are 360 ticks around a circle. And so each tick represent each little point there, I don't want to call it a tick, each little point represents a degree, a singular degree. Okay, so at 28 degrees, right? That'd be 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So about 9 degrees of Leo, even at the end of Leo on your rising, which means that, do you see how this is like a color wheel? And how if you had your colors, right? You had your watercolors out and you placed the Leo there and you had your yellow. And let's imagine it's watercolor and it got near the green. Is that yellow going to stay pure yellow? Or is it going to kind of do this washy, wishy, like mixing thing? Yeah. So astrology is similar. You know, there's boundaries, quote unquote, between the signs. But the reality is the beginning of a sign has a little bit more Cancer, right? And then it becomes really full on Leo, really full on Leo, really Leo, really Leo. And then it has a bit of Virgo at the end. And so when you're looking at a sign, now you know the beginning is going to have a little bit more of the previous sign, and the end is going to have a little bit more of the next sign, right? So for Lily Ma, I would say, okay, yeah, it is Leo, but there is a lot of Virgo. Okay, so she's sort of a Leo Virgo mix, right? So she's got that courage and fire. It's fire. But Virgo is earth. So she is not going to be, so there's kind of a spectrum with Leo. Leo can be really full on, center of the tension. It's ruled by the sun, in the spotlight. Everyone look at me. That's kind of one way a Leo could be. Or in Lily's case, she has a bit more Virgo added in to her color spectrum. And so Virgo is the handmaiden, right? It's the mother goddess. It's actually the largest constellation of them all. It's 48 days long to get through. And it relates to the Mother Earth, right? Some people say that the beings who seeded this race of humanity on the planet, Virgo relates to the first woman who gave birth to humanity, right? And so there's this whole theory of a group of people called the Anunnaki who supposedly came to our planet for gold, and they created our species through mixing the DNA of a humanoid race and their own extraterrestrial DNA. Very interesting story. Very, very interesting to check out. The Anunnaki. Zachariah Stitchin wrote a book about it called The 12th Planet. It's pretty far out, but interesting because there's Babylonian records and stories of this whole thing. And that's where it came from, is from a Babylonian historical information. And so according to the Babylonians, the Virgo constellation was like the first mother, right? The first mother of humanity. And so when I think of Virgo, I often think of mom, right? I often think of the mother and Mother Earth as well, like the larger mother who provides sustenance, who provides herbs, who provides everything that grows upon the earth, housing, So Virgos are good at building things. They're good at caring for things. They're the best with animals. They're like the best veterinarians and the best doctors, and they love and care about people, and they want to be of service, and they're humble, and they're not show-offy at all. In fact, they tend to be very modest and very shy because they're really focused on giving than receiving, right? They don't want to be the center of attention. Like, take the spotlight off. Like, I'm working on serving the needs of humanity, right? And then we notice that she has the moon. So any planets that are really close to this ascendant line, and this ascendant line is that peak birth, right? It's that moment of us, here we are. Any planet there, I often say, is kind of close to the surface, right? They're kind of up on the top of the skin there, and it's very visible, it's very noticeable. And when you have the moon there, and Lima, I have it there as well, the moon is expressive in emotion. And so when you have the moon in the first house, you tend to wear your heart on your sleeve. You're visible, like it's hard to hide emotion or feelings as much as you might be shy or modest. Like it just kind of like how you feel passes through you like a cloud over the sky, right? Like it's just super visible. And you also probably really care and nurture and nourish the people that come close to you. Like it's just automatic. Like, oh, here you are. I'm going to make you tea. And I can feel that, like just talking to you. I'm like, I would love to visit you because I know you would make me, some delicious food and a nice cup of tea, and it would feel like home, right? You have this energy of home, which is what the moon energetic is. Okay. And oh, this is so fascinating. And then she has Juno, an asteroid, which my own experience with Chiron has taught me to pay attention to asteroids because they are actually very powerful. And she has the asteroid Juno in Virgo, very close to the moon and the ascendant. And Juno is the marriage asteroid. So it tends to share what your kind of ideal partner would be like, right? And so in Virgo would be someone who's a healer, right? Someone who's a servant for humanity, someone who gives to humanity, someone who's always helping people, a helper, someone who's very conscious and very sensitive. Virgo can be very sensitive, and very close to the moon could mean they might be very emotional as well. They might be very sensitive and very emotional and could be touchy at times, but it's like that's what you like, right? That's the right partner for you, is someone who's very like clean, very organized, very Virgo is interesting. How do I describe Virgo? I think of Virgo as this fine sensory ability with Virgo. Like you just sense every fine detail, every energy. You're super conscious, super aware. And at times it can be tough on the nervous system because you just feel every little brush of wind. It's like, oh my God. Okay. So that's why animals, um, and plants are really nurturing for Virgo because they're so finely tuned. Okay. And so, but you still have fire there. So it's like you're not all Virgo either. And so there's this spark of flame, sort of like this love energy when we first meet you, because of course Leo rules the heart, right? It's fire, and you're wearing red, which is so appropriate, right? It's fiery, right? And it's passionate, and it's loyal, and it's very committed and very dedicated, right? And so once you make a commitment to something or someone, like back the F off, because like you are not coming down from that. Like that is, Leo is royalty. And I often think of Leo sitting on a throne, right? And putting on your crown, and as a royal being, right? As divine children of source, you are that, right? You are wearing a crown and sitting on the throne. And when you step into that knowledge, which Leo does step into that knowledge, it means that you are kind of like with great power comes great responsibility. And so Leo knows that. And they know the power and the regality of who and what they are. They know it on a deep level. So that's why they're so committed, they're so dedicated, they're so loyal, because they choose things of the highest and then they stick to them. It's like the log that burns all night. So there's 3 fire signs. Leo is the log that burns all night. Aries is like the first initial flame. It might die out. We're not gonna lie. Like it's like fast and furious and then it's gone. Leo is the sustaining fire. And then Sagittarius is the fire that maybe is burning on the hillside. It's far away. It's not up and close. Right? It's that search for the bright fire. So Sagittarius is always searching for that bright light and that flame. It's a very interesting dynamic with how these signs hold their fire energy. And they might carry like a coal in their pocket so they can always start a fire, but it might not always be blazing super bright. Whereas Leo, it's like you're that sustaining fire, right? And it's the kind of the hottest time of the year when Leo occurs, right? So it's a very beautiful energy. Okay. Do you want to comment on any of this about your ascendant? It's pretty beautiful and it feels right, but I'd love to hear from you if you want to share.
I feel like you're spot on. So I don't really have much more to say. So it's good. Keep going. Keep going. This is good.
Okay. Yeah.
I don't disagree at all anywhere.
Okay. It's fantastic. And you know, I feel a little obnoxious claiming that I have 100% accuracy, but it's not really just me. It's this accurate freaking system, right? Like we're just saying what was there at the moment of your birth in the sky. And if you're good at reading that and interpreting it, it's like, whoa, it's really, really powerful. So thank you, Lily, for letting us dive into your chart. And I hope that it's funny because I gave her a chart reading before, right? But the time wasn't accurate. And I can tell that this time when I was reading it was way different for her than it was the first time. I don't even remember what it was the first time, but if you have the accurate time, this chart will be so, so accurate. It was different, right? Like last time, very different. Yeah, that's so cool. Woo, woo, I just gotta like clap. Clap. Yay. Okay. All right. Awesome. Yeah, really beautiful. Way to go, Lily. And you have such beautiful energy too. So it's really nice to like read people's charts and they have really beautiful energy. It's kind of like this lovely moment of acknowledgement of just your beingness and your presence and who you are. And so thank you for that. So now we're gonna hop into, and you guys get lucky. You get like a whole lot of personal attention tonight. I could have sworn I did Stefan's chart. We'll have to figure that out. Okay. So we'll jump into John Michael's chart, and we have a totally different energy, a totally different energetic profile. So at the moment John Michael was born, we have the constellation of Libra on the horizon. So we're going from someone who had fire on a fire element sign, right, to an air element sign. Okay. And so that's a very different energy. Of course, we look at John Michael's chart and he's got like crazy amounts of fire up at his midheaven. So that's going to be a contributing factor. He's kind of got a little bit of Leo energy there as well, which is interesting to have gone from your Leo energy to hit, but in different placement, right? Okay. So Libra ascendant. So at the moment of birth, Libra on the horizon. I had to mention the fire because it was so strong coming in that I didn't want anyone to feel like I wasn't. Sometimes I think of the midheaven as a secondary sun sign. That's the level of importance and value that I give it when I see it in a chart. I'm like, whoa, everyone stop. What's the midheaven? You know, it's so powerful. Okay. So that's also one of the 4 points of power: ascendant, IC, DS, and midheaven, right? So those 4 points create the atmosphere of our beingness in a really powerful way. Okay, so let's bring it on back to the ascendant. So we've got Libra. Okay, this is what's going on. Libra on the ascendant. So we're like, okay, Libra is justice, it's balance, it's relationship focused. It really thinks a lot about the other people involved. It's not just like get it for myself energy. It's very much like aware of the balance between myself and others. And constantly, like, it's a very harmonious energy. I think of Libra energy as the energy of the diplomat, the energy of the person who could basically charm and talk to anyone, right? They're very good socially. They're the lubrication at the party. They're going around, they're talking to everyone. They're connecting.
Mediator.
Mediator, exactly. They're getting in the middle of conflicts. The symbol is the justice, right? The scale. Blind, right? Blind to judgment, balancing what is true, right? Balancing what is true, what is real. They make really great lawyers. They make really great conflict resolution specialists. They make great wedding planners. Anything that requires balance, they're very mentally focused and clear-headed, right? It's an air sign. So they love to communicate. They love to network. Air likes to what? It likes to move, right? So it's always moving. Libra is very active. Like it doesn't just like sit still. It's always in motion. It's always networking. It's always communicating, always expressing. It's in motion. Okay. Now, what I do notice is that he has Pluto, right? So wherever this ascendant is, we look to what is close to it to get a sense of the energetic of the personality, right? Think of the ascendant as the frosting on the cake, right? It's your birthday. You're like, what kind of cake do I have? And you look down and it's like, well, you don't actually know yet because it's covered in frosting. You don't know what's inside. And so the ascendant is the frosting. It tells us a vague idea of what kind of cake it is, but there could be surprises, right? You got vanilla frosting, you think vanilla cake. Oh, but wait, it might be chocolate, right? You don't know, right? You think it's a vanilla cake frosting, it might be confetti inside, it might be lemon meringue, you just don't know. And so the ascendant is like our window dressing, right? It's that personality that we portray to the world, but it's not necessarily who we really are. Okay. But it's our personality, right? It's what people meet. It's what is on the surface. And would you agree that it's important to have something on the surface at first so that it's not just like, hi, I have, you're bearing your soul to everyone. We have to kind of have like a coat room, right? A space for people to come in and you put your coat up and look around. It's like the front of the shop. It's the front of the shop. We don't always show people the back of the shop right away, right? Maybe they're close friends, family, we let them in. But the front of house is always open, it's always available. That's kind of what the ascendant is showing us, right? So don't be fooled by an ascendant sign. It could be the person could be totally different or it could line up perfectly, right? And we just don't ever know. But if as an astrologer to know more about how this Libra energy shows up, balance, fairness, social lubrication, like conflict management, diplomacy, networking. I always think of like a dinner party, like an art show with people drinking wine and going around and talking about art. And there's a lot of polite conversation and maybe everyone's dressed really nicely. Libra loves to dress to impress. They like to make a good impression. They like to look good. They really like to look good and to leave a good impression. It's very much about appearance to create, but why? To create harmony. They want to create harmony. They want to create peace wherever they go. It's this sense of balance. They want to create balance wherever they go, whatever they do. Okay. So, but what I notice is that you have Pluto at 47 degrees of Virgo, which is like 2 away from Libra. 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So it's not right on your ascendant, but 9 degrees is called the orb of aspect. And it means conjunction. It means there's an aspect, there's a relationship between Pluto and the ascendant. So since you have Pluto there, You're a deep mofo. You are someone who sees through people, right? Like you meet them and you just see like right into their heart and their soul, and you will not be fooled, right? Like you are not, like you're polite, you're charming, you have great social etiquette and manners, but you know on a core level of your being when you meet someone, this person is legit, this person is authentic, or like I'm out, right? Like you know. You're also a bit of a shaman. So you have an ability in a first encounter to create transformation in someone's life. Like you're not afraid to go deep with someone, right? You might sit down on the couch with them and share their whole life story and hold their hand, and that person cries and their whole life has changed, right? That's easy for you. That's just natural. It just flows. It just makes this a little bigger picture. Um, right? So it's interesting, right? Because you have this great picture, super friendly, like charming energy. And then there's black around you, which all really sets off your image, right? It's really quite striking. But I feel like that black is like the Pluto and it's representative of your depth. And I feel like this picture is very good at sort of showcasing who you are. It's like I'm friendly, I'm charming, I have great manners, I have great hygiene. Like Libra always looks like very well dressed, right? Libra is very good at staying clean and organized, great hygiene, great clothing, dressing well, fitting in. And it's not to necessarily to impress, it's to be balanced and to be harmonious with your environment. So Libra is all about balance and all about harmony. You're always trying to find that balance and that harmony. And you do that through your encounters with other people, actually. And so other people become the playground for which you refine your own identity, because the ascendant and the first house, it's all about identity. Okay. And so you refine, you polish, you learn about harmony and balance through your relationships and interactions with other people, which is really interesting because Libra is the opposite sign to the first house. Libra is usually connected to the seventh house of marriage and relationship. So you have the sign of marriage and relationship and partnership on the first house. And so you love relationships, right? Like how you grow is through your relationships more than anything else. Like that's part of your identity. That's part of who you are. Like you're not just going to want to go out there and be a solo giant. Like you're going to want to interact and work with people like together, together, together. That's something that appeals to you. And then right? You not only have Virgo here, but then you also have Scorpio and you have a little bit of Ophiuchus. And while your moon is close to the first house, it's in the second. So your emotions are not quite as visible as, say, someone who has their moon in the fourth house. They're like kind of more kind of kept quiet in a sense, right? They're the way you probably reveal emotion the most with the moon in the second house is through people you feel very safe and secure with, because the second house is stability and security. And so that could be part of how you build your stability is through sharing emotion with other people. But you have to feel safe enough. Second house is safety. It's material, right? You have to feel safe and secure to really open up your heart, to really feel those emotions. Okay. So interestingly, you have Pluto right here, and Pluto is the ruler of Scorpio. So you have Scorpio in the first house and the ruler of Scorpio really close to the ascendant, which again feeds back into the fact that as balanced, fair, compassionate, and beautiful, like that you love to create beauty and harmony in your relationships and in the world, it's also about depth for you. Who you are is also about going very deep and very shamanic in a way. You're very good at going deep with people and assisting them through transformations of any kind, right? So there's a shamanic energy. So you're harmonious, you're gentle, you're fair, you're extremely fair. It's all about fairness for you, but you're also super deep and transformational in the house of identity. In that first house, if we were to come over to John Michael's house, his first house of identity, and hang out with him, right? He'd be very fair, he'd be very courteous. His environment would be very clean, very beautifully decorated. So it'd feel nice to be in that space, but it would also be a space that you could go very deep and have a very deep conversation with him and for hours and sit and talk, because he's someone who wants to go deep with people. He wants to connect at a heart level. And that's probably where he finds the most nourishment around expressing who he is and his sense of self. And so the first house is so beautiful for us to learn about how do we nurture who we are. First house, how do we nurture our selfhood, our I am, whatever it is. That is the first house. I am. That's the energy of it. And it's great. Like if you're someone who's struggling with knowing who you are and what your personality is, what you like to do, look at the first house. That will tell you what you're into. That will tell you what motivates you. Okay. So I'd like to invite everyone to take just like a couple minute break here, grab a drink of water, go use the bathroom. I'm going to quickly find where Stefan's chart went. Before I do that, Jay Michael, do you have any questions about your chart and what we just went over here?
I don't know. I feel like Lily Ma a little bit. You did a really good job there. I almost got a full page just off that. So my first house is Pluto though, right?
Yeah.
Okay, just to make sure. And I was a little curious about what ascended means. You said ascended and descended. What is ascended? What exactly is that?
Yeah, so the ascendant is the sign on the first house, right? So ascendant, descendant. Ascendant is the far left-hand side of the chart.
It said I'm the host now. Okay, guys, let's breathe. No, just kidding.
No, you have to explain the charts now.
Oh man. Wait, let me make a phone call real quick.
Oh, she will be right back.
That was probably a good thing too, because that's a lot of information. Pretty cool though, how she's talking about like being a shaman though, and talking to people on a deep level, being like really deep. She does pretty good. I have to say, I know we're not spending any money for this, guys, but this is definitely worth some money. She's spot on most everything I wrote down. She knows me well, and she doesn't. We just met, so there's
Yeah.
definitely. I might have to see if I can share a post for her tomorrow. I was thinking about that on my page. See if I can share a post. See if anybody wants to check her out more. I don't know if you guys were gonna do that, but I was gonna probably do that tomorrow. Well, I know what time is it there for you, Stefan? It's 8:45 p.m. here. What is it, like 4 in the morning there?
Yeah, 3:46.
Oh wow. So you're really pushing it a little bit just to go to these, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I already have been to the second one, but then I couldn't attend the rest of it, and now I had the chance now to, yeah,
Okay.
continue.
What time is it there for you, Lilima?
It's morning. Let me see. It's 8:46 in the morning.
Okay, so you're directly 12 hours from me, and he's
Yes.
6 hours. So actually, wow.
Yes.
So yeah, we're 12 hours apart, me and Lily, and Stefan's right in the middle. That's kind of
Yeah.
interesting. Our
Mm.
time zones. Yeah, we're exactly 6 hours and 6 hours. Huh.
Yeah, and
Well, hopefully she comes back here. I was enjoying that.
he will. I
She
was
will.
in a, yeah, and if you're holding on to the old structures like the astrology charts, like only with 12 signs, and just pushing away everything else. Like,
Yeah, I guess yeah, this astrology stuff's still pretty new to me. I have a mentor that is really heavy into it and knows it really well, like her. But I guess some people kind of don't want to believe it's real.
yeah. I
Yeah.
like one line, English line. It's like millionaires don't care about astrology. Billionaires do.
I like that. Yeah, because they're looking for any way to get that little bit more. Yeah,
Yeah. So it's not that hard to become a millionaire, but if you want to become a billionaire, the charts are important as well, like this.
to really like unlock more of who you are, even though you've discovered a lot of who you are. That makes sense.
Like unlocking your full potential.
Well, yeah,
Kind
yeah, I know you messaged me before because you asked if I was awakened, and I was like, that's an interesting question. You know, how do you define that? You know, like you're kind of like just like how well you know yourself, which I guess, you know, how well you know yourself is a lot, you know, that way you're not like scared to show yourself to the world. That makes a lot of sense. But yeah, that was an interesting question you asked. Like, are you awakened? Uh, I
yeah,
don't
because
know.
you wrote it on your Facebook page, so I said, yeah, nice.
Oh, okay, okay.
Welcome back.
Hi guys, sorry about that. I'm having some really interesting technical difficulties today. So, and
It's all
it's
good. We
fun.
were chatting.
Mercury goes direct tomorrow, and Mercury is the planet of communication. It's also the planet of travel. And right before it changes, so right before it goes retrograde, and then right when it goes back again to direct, is the craziest times for Mercury. Um,
Huh.
Yeah. And so what does Mercury retrograde mean? It can mean one thing that Mercury retrograde does is it can actually throw off the GPS of animals so that it's like literally backwards.
Huh.
Yeah. And so Mercury retrograde can literally affect our our basic sense of being a body in space and movement. It can affect mind, it can affect body. And so it's really important as Mercury goes direct or Mercury goes retrograde to be really mindful of our movements and our thoughts and our communications because it literally can affect like the balance point of those things, right? So I'm actually not surprised this is happening right now. Not surprised at all. So what I would like to do, um, does anyone have you were telling us about your chart when I got bumped off there. So did you want to add anything else to that, J. Michael?
Um, Besides for you being really spot on,
Yeah, besides that.
well, you mentioned a lot of things, just like how even my personality, I'm kind of there as like a mediator. And then you mentioned the shaman, which is an interesting word because it's like a medicine person or like a spiritual healer. And
Yeah.
you mentioned that I like to go deep, but it
Mhm.
seems like the way you worded it, it's like I don't really know my own personality that well. I kind of have like a surface personality, and then my deeper personality, I kind of like hide a lot. That's
Well,
what it kind of makes.
I wouldn't say you hide it at all, actually.
Okay. I guess
I would,
maybe there's a better word for that. I don't show it off, but
yeah, so think about it this way. Let's think about a cake again. All right. So let's say when you have more than one sign as your ascendant, right? You have Libra, but then you have Scorpio kind of underneath it. It would be like having a cake with two frostings. And so the top layer of frosting is maybe that balanced, beautiful, harmonious Libra energy. And then underneath it would be that Scorpio depth. And so maybe like your first encounter with someone, you're not going to necessarily always go deep, but pretty quickly you're going to go deep. Do you see what I'm saying? Like superficially on the really top surface, very like harmonious, pleasing, gentle personality, but depth is there for sure. Like it is in your beingness. Like when you first meet you, like you feel that depth and that sort of penetrating gaze, but it doesn't feel scary or overwhelming. So if it was just Scorpio, for instance, on the ascendant, it was your ascendant, it would be all that. It would be all shamanic energy, you know, and you might even dress more like a shaman. But because it's Libra, that is the ascendant, you dress more like a businessman, right? You dress more like someone in a suit and a tie because it's a very harmonious, balanced look. And so that is what I'm saying. I'm not saying that you hide it. I'm just saying that part of it's sort of like a marriage, right? It's wedded together, this balance and harmony with the depth and the intensity, as opposed to being hidden away. It's just a component of who and what you are, which is beautiful. It helps you in business and in work and in relationships to be gentle and harmonious and balanced and be all about creating connection and relationship. Because wouldn't you agree, it's easier to go very deep with someone that you feel comfortable, that you feel safe, that you feel is fair, and who has a certain, you know, there's a certain quality with Libra that's really interesting. The quality that Libra has is of being almost like a step back, right? Almost like a step back from super engaged. It's sort of like keeping that
An observer?
mind that it's not a reserve. It's
oh no, observer.
It's actually being fair. It's being objective, not subjective. It's like being able to take in everyone's point of view without judging it. Right? So you make it
like
really
you said, I think you used conflict resolution or a lawyer, you said too.
Exactly. So you're someone who's going to be fair, who's going to be just, who is going to very deeply look out for the well-being and harmony of everyone that you're working with.
So yeah, I guess
right?
Yeah, I guess that would be kind of like a government person or a political person too, but
yeah, it could be
that behavior or attitude. Yeah.
Exactly. So you could work diplomatically, you could work with people in affairs of state, you could work in a way that allows you to circulate with a lot of different types of people because you're not judging them. And you also don't have to go deep. It's like Libra knows when to. Libra knows when to do what. It's, you know, the best way to think of Libra as imagine a waltz where people are dancing, like an old fashioned. The Libra personality is very good at dancing. When you're dancing, you're connecting, but there's a little bit of space, right? There's intimacy, but there's also space between you and the other person. And so Libra knows how to keep the appropriate spaciousness between you and someone else, right? And so it's this really kind of gentle, objective awareness of those that you connect with, right? I'm going to send you a link to a little movie clip, and it's like this. Libra is that ball where everyone's dressed beautifully, meticulously, everything's beautiful, and there's diplomats and there's people from all over the world all interacting with each other. And so Libra is the harmony that allows so many people to interact on a very deep level so that everyone can tune in to the purpose that everyone is there for. Right? So you don't have to be, you know, awkward. Libra is just that pure social ease. So you have that. You have the gift of social skills and the gift of dressing right and showing up in that way. Right. And so being a salesperson is a really great thing for you because you know how to follow the etiquette. Okay. So etiquette is the province of Libra. You're very good at
politeness.
a
Okay.
lightness, you know, a light step, a light touch, like wearing the velvet glove, right? You know how to handle things delicately. You know how to really tune in to the environment. You're aware, you're conscious, all of that kind of stuff. Yeah. So, and then Scorpio, of course, rests just below it, and that relates to Scorpio below it relates to depth, it relates to intensity, it relates to being able to go very, very deep with other people, right? Like you have
having patience.
exactly having patience, you also can be intense when you need to. You're kind it's kind of great. It's kind of great with this Libra Scorpio thing you got going on because you can get in the door, but if you need to lay down or be serious or be stern or be strong, like you got firepower with the Scorpio there.
Yeah.
So you're not someone to trifled with. You're not all air. You're not all like pleasantries, which Libra could be. Libra could be, you know, very kind of superficial. Okay. But you kind of have the best of both worlds because you can be that superficiality, that nice clothes and, you know, nice etiquette and, you know, great social skills. But you can also be that depth of, I know what's happening here. I know where you're coming from. This is what we're going to do. One of the co-rulers of Scorpio is Mars, and Mars is action. Pluto and Mars rule Scorpio. And so you can reveal, you're really good at revealing secrets. You're really good at revealing untruths. And you're really good at creating transformation. All those things you're naturally really good at. But it can also be intense for people because you're penetrating. And they're like, dang, like you just stared into my soul, right? And so luckily you have Libra on the top. And so you sort of you kind of go gentle probably with people. Like you're not someone who's going to push in and demand that they go very deep with you. You can take time and, you know, when it's the appropriate time and the appropriate location and space, then you can go really friggin' deep. And so that's a talent and that's a skill that you have. Yeah. I also want to add that your Pluto, which is the ruler of Scorpio that's very close to the actual ascendant, is in Virgo. And Virgo is a physical healer, right? It's the doctor. It's the body. It's also the mother, right? So very nurturing energy around caring for the well-being of humanity. Okay, so you really love to give to people. Like you really love to help people feel better. You really love to be of service. You really love to assist people with transformation that serves their well-being. Okay, and so that's one way that you spread harmony and create diplomacy is by tuning into the health and happiness of a person's physical body. Like, what do people eat? What are their habits? What are their mental habits? Right? So you like to assist people. Like your very identity is nourished and nurtured by you assisting people with transforming their habits, with how they treat their bodies, with their routines, with what they do. And since that Pluto and Virgo is in the 12th house, it relates to their spiritual self as well. So it's body and spirit for you. Body, spirit, transformational doctor. Okay, like you really like to assist people to transform Pluto, their spiritual 12th house, and their physical bodies, Virgo. anything, being
You're breaking up
health
a little bit.
coach to a teacher, right? And maybe even, and then maybe even combining those two things, like putting them together, like being a health coach and a spiritual teacher. And that might not be
Okay.
your main focus, but that's a way that you feel good. It serves your identity. It's kind of one way that you nurture your sense of self is by serving people's spiritual and physical needs.
Wow.
Yeah. So I hope this
Um,
has that landing for you.
that's amazing, Lotus Dawn. You're awesome. Wow, it's amazing how well your information comes in and it's really spot on. Um, I was only curious about one other thing. You mentioned something called the orb of aspect.
Yes, of course.
The
Yeah.
orb of
So
aspect, what is that?
what is that? I know I'm like so used to these terms and I'm like it
Sounds
can
cool.
sound like science fiction a little bit. So orb is like space, right? It's like the distance from one point to another. An aspect means relationship, right? So how close is one planet to another or one point to another? So the orb of aspect just means the distance between one point to another point.
Okay.
And so orb of aspect, well, 10 degrees is what they say is pretty much what two planets being together means a relationship. Now, if the planets are more than 10 degrees apart, that's out of the orb of aspect. It's like how close they are, how how deep is the intensity, how deep is the connection. If they're out of the orb of aspect, there's really not a whole lot of energy there between the 2 points. But if they're in the orb of aspect, then they are full on. Interesting, right? Very
Yeah,
interesting.
it's really good.
So now you guys know we've gone over, right, the 12 houses. We've gone over the signs. We haven't gone over the planets yet, but I'm going to send you all the sheet that has the houses, the planets, and the signs. So you can kind of like, okay, that's how they all connect and relate to each other. And then what we're going to do is we're going to meet up tomorrow and we're going to go over the IC for everyone, the relationship house, the descendant, the MC, and we're going to open the door up to the Chiron. And then Friday is going to be all about Chiron and money. It's kind of going to be our big day of like Thursday, the door about Chiron is going to open and where our Chirons are. And then Friday, we're going to bring in the money planets in our charts and we're going to look at that between our deepest wound and our deepest ability to create wealth. What is happening? What's the conversation that's going on between our greatest ability to make a ton of money and the deepest spiritual wounds that we're carrying? And is there a way that we can kind of loosen up? Kind of feels like, you know, how we hear a lot about samskaras, right? So samskaras, according to Kevin Trudeau, samskaras are the energetic blockages that we're all dealing with that hold us back. Samskara. That's S-A-M, Sam, S-K-A-R-A. Samskara. This is an Indian word, and it relates to karma. It relates to what energy karma are we carrying that is interfering with our ability to be in our spiritual truth, giving our spiritual gifts. And then we're going to look at so that would be the Chiron wound, right? And another way it could be showing up is an interaction between the second house and another planet. That could show us where you might have a money block by looking at the second house, because the second house is how we bring in income. It's how we make money. Okay. So we're setting up the framework right now. We're opening the door to you all learning to read the charts. Do you think it was really helpful to kind of show each of your ascendants and how accurate that is? And Stefan, we will get to you tomorrow. Please forgive me. This Mercury retrograde got me with my computer, but at least I had my phone I could jump on. Okay. So tomorrow we'll continue with Stefan's first house and his ascendant and what that says about him. We're going to jump through the IC, which is our emotional center. We're going to jump through our seventh house, which is our relationship center, and the midheavens. We have a big day tomorrow. Big day. And then we're going to open the door to Chiron. I didn't want to just go to Chiron, J Michael, because Chiron is so intense that if I were to give that to you right away, it wouldn't make sense. It would be too much energy without a proper container. So I'm really glad you brought it up so that we could start talking about it. But Chiron really kind of needs his own introduction. And I think for all of you to have a better grasp of where it's placed, right? Because I'd studied astrology charts for maybe 30 years when I finally discovered mine. And I knew all these other things before I just saw it, if that makes sense, right? I like really deeply understood the placement of it and how that might show up. And then it all came through really powerfully. So in order to get that release for you all, I want to make sure you have a deeper understanding and connection to your chart. What is it? Like, what are you even looking at so that it's your chart when you see it, right? When it's like really solidly yours. And one thing I want to do is get you all your charts for tomorrow so you can have tonight to kind of look at it and like look at the ascendant, look at the IC, look at the descendant, get any questions together that you might have when you're looking at your own chart of like, oh my God, like what am I even looking at? What does it mean? Okay. So we're gonna end a little early tonight, even though 7 isn't that early, but we're gonna just call it because we had such a big night last night. I want you all to get some rest. That was a huge energetic event. But I just wanted to ask Stefan, Lily, do you have any questions or comments or anything you'd like to share before we finish up for tonight, if you're still there? Yeah, go ahead. Just turn on your camera because I won't be able to see you otherwise. Okay. All right. I can only see. Yeah, go ahead. Hey.
Can you see it?
Yeah.
I just want to say thank you for doing all of this for us. It's huge. Like we were just talking, we were talking behind your back when you were away. We're just saying that you're giving us so much value, and this is a free class. What I wanted to ask you is this going to lead to a paid masterclass? Or do you have the reveal at the end? So maybe I'm just jumping the gun.
You know what? Yes. Yeah, I do have an opportunity for you all, and I'm excited. I'm really excited about it. It's been kind of coming together over the last couple months after my last training, and it's good. It's really good what I'm what I'm putting together. I'm not sure if I want to tell you now or if I want to kind of leave it for Friday but yes, there is an opportunity to go deep with me and be in a container and go into the chart and learn it on a deeper level. And the focus is going to be really great. It's going to be really cool. So I will share that on Friday, what this container will be and what you're going to expect from it. I will say though that one of the bonuses that whoever decides to sign up and go further with me on this will receive with the training is access to my 13 or 14 classes from my previous training, which is like a huge value. I heart and soul was poured into that training, and it is just, I don't think anyone is offering the level of depth around each house that we went into. It was like a spiritual journey. It was really, really profound. And so I'm glad you asked, Lily Ma, and I'm really excited to create the container for students who want to go deeper with the astrology, where it's like being on this training, it's like sparking something. And it's actually an incredible time to become a constellational astrologer because it's really about to hit the mainstream. And we're talking millions of people who follow a form of astrology that's totally inaccurate, who could really benefit from an accurate chart reading. I mean, look at what we just looked at, what the first house, one house, 1 point. And I feel high. Like I feel like we literally just like gazed into each other's souls here just now to reveal this part of you, this component of your identity. And I didn't know astrology could be so powerful, right? I did not know. Like even though I grew up doing it, it wasn't until I included all the things I've shared with you that I literally just sit here in this kind of state of just awe, even as I keep going, even as I keep
Yeah.
going, because yeah, yeah, it's mind blowing. And I think about how many people could benefit from this knowledge about who they are. And that just drives me. And so thank you for being here and thank you for being willing to expand your mind to learn something new. I really appreciate that. I grew up watching my mom telling people about this stuff and I'm like, whatever, like push it aside. It's not important. It's like now to have that opportunity to bring the truth to people and like have you all receive it and get it. It is like healing. It is like healing my bloodline. It is like healing my soul. So thank you all so much for being here. And I'm excited for tomorrow because we just opened the door, essentially is what happened tonight. Like we just opened the door for you to start getting this. We got enough training in to where you're like kind of starting to get it now. And to me, as a trainer, as a guide, I feel you all on your bicycles. Like before you were looking at the bicycle, which is the chart, and you're like, I don't know. Like I kind of poke it with a stick. Like it kind of wiggles a little bit. But like now tonight, I can feel all of you on the bicycle and you're kind of like, oh my God, like I could actually ride this thing. Like, whoa, like I could go to cool places with this bicycle. So I'm excited. I feel like the job has been started, which is to open your mind to how you have the power to read your own chart. It's not this like thing 20 years in the future. Like you literally, after this couple days that we went through, like you're going to be looking at your chart and accessing it and accessing your soul too, because it goes hand in hand in a way that you probably never thought was possible. And that's why I keep doing this work. So I'm like, dang, it doesn't have to be so difficult, right? Like, let's give the power back to the people so you all can have access to your own knowledge of who you really, really are on a soul level. So this isn't just astrology reading. This is a soul chart. And maybe I need to rebrand myself because the truth of the matter is that we're diving deep into the soul here. We're diving deep into the journey of the soul and of who the identity of who we are as souls and what we're here for. And I cannot even think of anything more powerful than knowing who we really are, knowing how to take action on it, knowing the challenges we have around taking action on it, and then having the support of our community to transform those blockages together and to rise into who we are. I mean, wow, that's a dream come true right there. So, I just want to thank
Yeah.
you. Thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I'm high as can be. I'm excited for tomorrow. I'm going to send you all your charts so you can start to look at it, get your questions together for tomorrow night. Then tomorrow we're going to just keep going with continuing to reiterate the basics, right? Which are the signs, the planets, the houses, right? How the outer wheel changes based on time and location. The inner wheel stays the same. The signs associated with the houses and the planets. And then you're rolling. Then you got a new skill. And man, is this a market? If you wanted to do astrology, if you wanted to add astrology to your business, you will have such amazing, like I have a student who, she's a healer. She took Michael's energy healing course. She's out there doing the energy healing work. It's awesome. She's doing fantastic. She jumped onto my last master class. She loved it. And now she's offering healing and astrology. And she has a podcast and she's friggin' rolling already. And I'm like, wow. I was like, how many clients? She's like, I've worked with like 10 people already. I was like, that's amazing. So I'm really here to support all of you as, or if you want to pursue astrology deeper, I'm here for that. If you want to just take this training and go with that and go forwards, I'm happy with that too. But I'm just really here to facilitate learning and learning about your soul. That's what I'm here for, so that you have the power to know yourself, know thyself. I mean, how many places do we see that carved into coliseums, into the pyramid, just everywhere, to know thyself, right? That is to know
Yeah.
God.
Yeah,
And
when you popped off for a couple minutes there, we were talking, and I already talked to Stefan before this, and he asked me if I was awake, and I said, "Well, what does that mean?" And he said, "I guess how well you know yourself." So
Mhm,
exactly what you're talking about is what
mhm,
helps you be less fearful with life and embrace life is just knowing who you are. So all
right,
this information is really right what a lot of people probably are really desiring. They just haven't quite found it yet, and so
right.
yeah, everything you're saying is spot on what we'll be going through.
Mhm. Yeah, it's so beautiful. I don't even have words for it, to be honest with you. I can't even. I'm just like a soul smiling at you essentially right now. Just full smile, so grateful. And really, what it is just teaching you all the basics. As soon as I can get you past that door of the basics, right? Like Kevin is always teaching the basics, the basics, the basics, then you guys can start flying. And anyone can do it, and anyone can have access to the basics. It's very simple concepts. And then you have this incredible map that you can use for yourself and for whoever you come in contact with. So super awesome. Woo! All right, my friends. Well, I recommend you drink lots of water and get snacks, because a lot of energy has moved just through us talking about the astrological charts. You might want to ground yourself a little bit, shake out your body, just kind of do some exercise, because the astrology chart is a very high frequency. It is literally like a higher dimensional energy when we go into our astrological charts. And so it's a really good idea to not just think that you're in a normal mind space right now. Like, you literally have ascended to a higher frequency. And so,
Right.
just take that and, come out and walk around and move your body and notice the shifts in your energy field, and let that flow happen. And then allow the integration, because your consciousness is going to be integrating soul level down through physical material down to earth. So ground yourself, drink some water, get some snacks, get some
Yep.
questions together for tomorrow, and Stefan, we'll get your first house. Don't you worry. Yeah, and I look forward to seeing you all tomorrow at 5 o'clock. Any final questions or comments or anything anyone wants to share?
You're awesome.
Thank you.
That's all I got.
I appreciate that. I really do. I grew up in school being a weird person. That was the best people could do. And it wasn't until years later that I learned that weird means of awesome, means of fate and destiny. It's actually a Celtic word. And I just went, oh my God, they were right. Right. Because I've always felt really drawn by fate and destiny. Like, I'm drawn towards life. And I for all souls to truly know thyself and the gifts that we have, so that we can rise up out of feeling like, to rise up into feeling our value, and thus creating value and receiving value and abundance for our true soul gifts. And so, again, that brings us back to this whole purpose of this 5-day challenge, y'all. Knowing ourselves, being able to identify why we are here, what is our soul purpose, and then identifying any blocks that are in the way of expressing that, and then rising up into our millionaire planet and our billionaire planet and bringing our gifts and our soul purpose to that idea of abundance and freedom and well-being. And so what a cool focus for this week for everyone. And I hope we can all stay in that energetic of rising into our soul purpose and also receiving value for the gifts that we bring forth for the world, which is the best. And it's what we're here for. Woo! All right. All right, everyone. I'm so grateful. I send you so much love, and I will see you all tomorrow at 5 p.m. and we will continue to dive deep. And I know my computer will behave tomorrow. I can feel it because Mercury will be direct and we will have an awesome night. So I send you all so much love, so many hugs from the universe, from source, from spirit. And I look forward to seeing you all tomorrow.
Thank
Bye,
you.
guys.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye. Bye, everyone.
See you guys.